So I used to be a huge fan of Twilight. I remember whenever the first movie came out, I must have been like 12 or something, and I was so enthralled by it. I thought it was like fantastic, something I'd never seen before, and I was like so taken in, and I was like Twilight's number one diehard fan. And so I got home and I read the books, which for me as a 12-year-old, that's how you know that I really like something because I did not read. In fact, like I just didn't read till like last year. So, I was committed. That summer, I went on holiday, and while I was there, I got bored. And so I thought that I was going to write like the next Twilight book. I don't know how I thought it worked, but in my head, I think I was writing like a sequel or a spin off, and somehow it would get published. Even though I don't own Twilight, I decided to write that. But I didn't quite realize at the time that I was writing fan fiction, and that was the first ever fan fiction I wrote, and it was a Twilight fan fiction, and it's a pretty embarrassing. And I feel like fan fiction gets like this embarrassing reputation because the only ones that people ever hear about are like the cheesy bad ones like 50 Shades of Grey, or like the badly written ones like that one with like what's it called, the Harry Potter one with like Ebony, Darkness, Raven Dementia Way, that one. This is not going to help because I'm going to read you my fanfiction that has been sitting in my room for like a decade. It's come with me through like two or three moves. I'm shocked that as a 12-year-old going from like Spain or wherever to here, I didn't just lose it on the flight and like some poor person had to find it, but somehow um I have kept it all these years, and it's literally just like a bunch of paper that I only wrote on one side of for some reason. It looks like a lot, but it's probably less than 5,000 words. So I'm going to read the whole thing, hopefully in one sitting. And if you've read Twilight, you might recognize the story. And if you look at my name, you might recognize one of the characters here as well. Because it's um I think I just thought, you know what will be like, I'll be really sly and I'll add like a cool character in and I'll call her like Sophie and no one will know it's me. Ironically, I actually really would love to be a published writer. I would love to write my own books, and I have tried to come up with stories and all before, but I'm not very good at writing. I haven't read this in at least 2 or 3 years. The last time I looked at it, I was at university. I don't know how it made it to university with me, which was in a different country again. So I read the first few pages to my friends because I think they found it. And other than the first few pages, I have not looked at it in probably about 6 or 7 years. So let's see if I've improved at all in the last decade. Here is a dramatic reading of my debut novel of Twilight Book 5. It's unfinished. I'm pretty sure I just like stopped writing it because we got home and I couldn't be bothered doing it because I was going back to school. But I'm pretty sure that if you've seen Twilight or read it, fun fact, I've never actually watched any other film than book one. I think I watched the first movie and then read all the books and was really obsessed with it, but by the time the next one came out, I was like, I spent too much of my life on that. So if you've ever seen it, then you'll probably be able to fill in the blanks of how it was going to end, but let's just start. Already I've come across a problem of I thought I was missing a page, but I actually didn't do an intro. I literally just started like in the middle of the story. Editors always say you should be starting in the middle of a story, but like I think I took that really literally. This scene is also identical to the one in the books and the film, but I mean, I was 12, so it's not like I was expecting a masterpiece, but let's just go. Oh my god. That's Rosalie and Emmett, he said, pointing to a gorgeous, but I spelt it wrong twice, and I've just scored it out, so I guess I decided that word wasn't important. Blonde, and the tall, muscular guy that seemed to be her boy friend. Two separate words. They walked over to the furthest table in the cafeteria. That's Jasper and Alice. The other guy, Brian, chipped in, looking at a tall blonde boy and the little spiky haired brunette beside him, Holding hands, they followed the others. I like that Brian got a name, but the first guy that spoke didn't. He wasn't as important as Brian, I guess, who I'm pretty sure never comes back because I don't think I had the foresight to do that as a kid. Of course, Edward and Bella, the first guy said again, looking over to the goldy auburn haired guy and the beautiful, which I actually spelt right, brunette at his side. Beside them are Jacob and Renesmee. A tall tanned guy was walking with a brown eyed curly haired girl with the same hair colour as Edward's with linked arms. How romantic. So you can tell that this takes place after the events of the first 4 books in the series. Yeah, so this is after the books, probably by like 10 years because Renesmee is all grown up, and I don't know why Jacob hasn't aged. Do werewolves not age, or did I just decide that werewolves don't age either? They're all together. Most are in junior year, but Renesmee and that girl there are in our year, sophomores. And I don't know how American schooling system works, so I'm just assuming that sophomore is below junior. I thought that was it. Man, the Cullens were a big family, but I realised that the guys from my table were staring at the door. I looked and realised why. A tall, thin, red-haired redhead entered and gracefully walked over to the table. I think what's really nice here is that I, as a 12-year-old, seem to have the confidence in myself that I would grow into a tall, thin redhead. I'm definitely not tall and thin. I am redhead though, so like 1 out of 3 is not bad. Apart from Jacob, they all had snow white skin, and all but Renesmee and that Jacob dude had goldy amber eyes. Rosalie and Jasper were brother and sister before they were adopted by Dr. and Mrs. Cullen, and Renesmee and Edward were siblings too. That explained the way they both had that hair colour. Because I guess like brown hair, it's just so unique that you need to really explain why they have the same shade of brown hair. The only ones eating were Jacob and Renesmee. I have not spelt Renesmee right once, but to be fair, I don't think anyone knows how to spell Renesmee. Renesmee was only eating an apple though, while Jacob was stuffing down his huge burger and chips and juice and fruit salad. It's like almost embarrassing that as a 12-year-old, I still didn't know how to spell some of these words or how to structure a sentence. Renesmee and Jacob, they're like madly in love, never gonna break up, meaning that 2 of the hottest sophomores are gone, leaving Sophia. Oh, she's called Sophia in this one, so it's very clearly not me. So that's a weight off my mind. He pointed to the redhead. She's like super smart. She's in AP Science and English. Unfortunately though, she mostly only hangs out with her pure family? What does that mean? Her pure family? What does that mean? None of them looked over at me the whole time. None of them looked over at me the whole time. Usually all girls looked at me. I was tall and blonde. What more could a girl want? This is genuinely like embarrassing, but I feel like it's time for me to just like let go of it because I've held on to this for 10 years. What else am I gonna do with it? I'm not exactly gonna write it into a book, am I? So like, I'll just share it with you guys. It's already been 11 minutes and I've read 2 pages, so it might be a series. Hi, I'm Jackson Green, and I'm from LA and I'm 16. What? I didn't skip anything. It literally just says, I was tall and blonde, what more could a girl want? Hi, I'm Jackson Green. I assume there's meant to be like a paragraph break there, and this is like later in the day. Very clearly I just didn't know what that was, but let's just move on. The teacher pointed to a free chair behind Sophia and Renesmee, who were chatting quietly. They looked at me as I walked past, and I saw they were both unnaturally beautiful. And I also spelt it wrong there, but clearly, like, my sister has just written in the correct spelling here. She was probably like my beta reader and like just making sure that like all of this was top notch. So let's give her a hand for that one, because otherwise this just wouldn't be as polished as it is. As I sat, I could see their lips move, but no sound come out. It was like they were arguing. Renesmee flashed a triumphant smile. I couldn't spell beautiful, but I spelled triumphant right first time. And turned in her chair. Hi, I'm Renesmee, she smiled again. My friends and family all call me Nessie. You can too if you like. She turned and motioned with her eyes to Sophia. Sophia shook her head quickly, making her rib-length ginger waves shake violently. Nessie hit her arm and Sophia rolled her eyes and turned to me with a fake smile. So she's like, ugh. Hi, I'm Sophia. She talked slowly but clearly with a light tone in her voice. No one spoke for a moment, and I heard Mr. Woodman looking through papers and was still talking to a student. I was interrupted by a sharp, "Stop hitting me. One day you might actually hurt me." Oh, I wonder why one day she might actually hurt her. If you haven't seen Twilight, it's about vampires, by the way. So, do you like geography then, Jackson? 'Cause I do, Sophia said, and Nessie smiled like she'd won a battle. I hesitated. Oh god, I just read this sentence and it's genuinely embarrassing. Now I'm gonna read this out to you, but like know that I wrote this whenever I was 12. It's embarrassing to me that I ever wrote like a "I'm not like other girls" sentence, because that literally makes me want to throw up in my mouth anytime I ever hear someone be like, "Well, I'm not like other girls," especially in like books and TV shows. It's awful. But I hesitated. Most girls that looked like Sophia and Nessie didn't know how to spell geography, let alone like the subject. Also, by the way, I hated geography whenever I got older. I smiled a smile that usually took girls' breath away, but Nessie and Sophia only blinked, like I didn't do anything. I agreed with Sophia. Geography was my best subject at home. Class started 15 minutes late. We talked about Ireland, Northern Ireland to be precise, and how most of the year it was dull and rainy, but in the summer how it got bright and sunny. I can't believe that like I literally just like stopped writing it just so I could like mention the country I live in. That's so embarrassing. Okay. I grimaced at the word sunny. Back home in LA it was sunny all the time, but we moved here from my dad's job and it hadn't stopped raining since we'd arrived, and it was almost summer. Only 3 weeks. So he showed up in school 3 weeks before summer, and his parents made him go to school for 3 weeks. The bell rang and I started to walk to the gym, which we were doing with the junior boys. I walked in and got changed. While I was walking to the gym, the tall muscly guy came beside me. Gosh, why was he so tall? I'm not sure I like you, Emmett said. Suddenly Edward was there and he put a hand on Emmett's shoulder. Emmett, even if you break his face, it'll still happen. I suddenly stopped walking and got a little scared. Ed, she's our sister. How can you not be worried? Edward smiled. Experience, he simply said. I got more scared. A guy shouldn't get. Oh god, that's disgusting. A guy shouldn't get scared. He should be tough. Too late. I honestly want to throw up. Like, that's awful. I hate that. I can't believe I not only wrote like a "I'm not like other girls," but also wrote like "a boy shouldn't be scared," as if like two guys that could beat you up and leave you in an alleyway saying like "I don't like you" shouldn't intimidate you. Like, okay. Out of nowhere, Jasper was there too. He looked at me for a second, then looked pitiful, and all of a sudden, a wave of calm fled over me. You should get to gym, Jackson, Jasper said. I nodded and walked toward the gym. I think the reason why I probably named this guy Jackson is because I think the guy that played Jasper's real name is Jackson, and whenever it came out, I had a massive crush on that guy, so I feel like oh, this is awful. It's probably like, I don't think this was supposed to be the guy that played Jasper because Jasper's in this, but like I probably gave him the name Jackson because of that, and then Sophia is me. If you couldn't tell, if you couldn't pick that up from all the context clues, Sophia is me. Brian and the other guy from lunch were waiting for me. I love that I did actually bring Brian and the other guy back, but the other guy is still just the other guy from lunch. He's not that important. Dude, why so late? You were right behind us, the other guy spoke. The Cullens held me back. Any violence? Brian said, worried. I shook my head. Hey, if they're juniors, shouldn't they be doing sport with us? I asked. Nah, none of the Cullens do sports. Edward, Renesmee, Jacob, Alice. None. That's not even all of them. Gym was painful. The teacher hates sophomores. It was dodgeball. Sophomores spent the whole hour running and getting hit by balls. Big, scary, muscly juniors threw or pelted, more like it. That is not even a grammatically correct sentence. You okay? Nessie asked me as I came out of the changing rooms. I guess she's here now. Sophia was with her and even she looked worried. It was just dodgeball. It didn't kill you. How did you know? I asked, staring at them, both beautiful in their dresses. Sophia smiled genuinely. Also spelled that correctly, so we heard the screams. Oh, was all I could say. We were wondering if you needed a ride home, Nessie asked and smiled. Instead of taking the bus, Sophia added in. You know, the thing I love about Sophia is that she's just so charming, and it's really obvious why Jackson fell in love with her, because she's just like so charismatic, you know? I thought, I'm not sure if your brothers would like that. We came with Jake. I sighed of relief, partly because I hated the bus and I was getting a ride home, and partly because the brothers seemed to hate me and I didn't want to intrude. We met up with Jacob at the front and Nessie got up on her toes to kiss him. He seemed like 7 feet tall. You mind if we drive Jackson home on the way? Sophia asked. I guess not. Climb in. I paused as they got into a green convertible. It looked really cool and really expensive. I thought they were just standing there. I got in, but because it was raining, surprise, surprise, the roof was up. Sweet car, Jake, I said. Ha, he wishes, Nessie laughed. It's mine, Sophia said. You drive? Doesn't every other 16-year-old, she said. It wasn't a question, more of an answer. Ironically, I cannot drive, and I am not 16. I just prefer not to. She sat back in her seat, relaxing more. Jake and Nessie were in the front, meaning she somehow got her license, but she drives like a maniac. So to prevent damage, I drive, Jake said playfully. We pulled out of the space and onto the road. Where to? Jake asked. They were so easy to talk to. He hasn't talked to anyone. Like, he's had about 2 conversations that lasted 30 seconds with Sophia and Nessie, and he's literally just met Jake. But okay. When we pulled up to my house 20 minutes later, I was almost sad. I got out and they waved goodbye and sped off. In 10 seconds, it took me to get from the curb to where they'd left me off to my front porch. I was soaked. Damn rain. That sentence definitely was missing words. Hi, honey, my mother called from the kitchen. I smelt something good. How was school? She asked as I walked into the kitchen of our small 3-bedroomed house. It was okay, not too hard. I met a nice guy named Brian and his friend, and Sophia, Nessie, and Jake Cullen. She looked up from the stove when I mentioned the girls' names and smiled. It's not like that, Mom. I assume he's meant to be American because he's from LA. It's not like that, Mom. Nessie's dating Jake and Sophia's just a friend. She looked confused and I realized why. Oh, the Cullens are adopted, Mom. She nodded like she understood and then she thought again. Cullen? I nodded. Dr. Cullen works at the hospital. Lovely man, although he's a bit too pale. He brought his wife in today, Esme, great woman, also a bit pale. Mum worked at the hospital as a nurse. Dad worked in a business company and wasn't home till midnight and left before I got up. I love working in a business company, so that's good. Christmas Day and a week each summer was the only time I ever really saw him. I have a sister, Viola, but she's 20 and at college and only comes home for summer and Christmas and when she needs her clothes washed or money. I checked the clock. Only 8:20. Slow day. I'd eaten dinner, washed the plates, done all my homework, and had a shower, and now I was watching mindless teen reality shows. Without the Cullens, my day was pretty much dead. I don't think I deliberately meant to do that, but like, that's good. That's a good one. So I decided to go upstairs and write a list of reasons why the Cullens don't do sports. Why would you do that? I came up with 3 answers. 1. The Cullen family are radioactive monsters that once in gym become giant monkeys. What? 2. The Cullens all have some rare disease that means that they can't play sports. And 3. They just don't want to. Finally, at 9:30, after an hour of staring mindlessly at the cracks on the ceiling, I gave up. It's a little bit bad how much I've literally just like described how most of my nights go. I woke up to not rain, but in fact hail. It smashed violently against my window at 60 a minute. 60 a minute? What does that mean? I would have to wait for the bus in that. I was going to bruise. Not a very tough thing to say, but I was. I wish the Cullens would pick me up. Nessie, Jake, and Sophia. My cell rang while I was getting dressed. I picked it up even though it was an unfamiliar number. Hello? Hey Jackson, you want us to pick you up on the way to school? A familiar voice said. Sophia, how did you get this number? I asked. I have contacts. Now, yes or no? She asked, a little irritated. Okay, no wait. I have contacts. Now, yes or no? She asked, a little irritated. Yeah, why not? It's better than waiting for the bus in this weather. She laughed. Aha, we'll be round in about 10 minutes, okay? She didn't wait for an answer before hanging up. I pulled my jumper over my head and quickly tied my trainers before rushing down the stairs and pouring my cereal, which I also spelled wrong. Mom, I called. Oh no, wait, he's American. Mom, I called during eating. I'm getting a ride with the Cullens, Kay? I finished eating and just in time for the honk outside. That's not correct. I opened the door, but instead of the green convertible and the smiling faces of Jake, Nessie, and Sophia, it was a Jeep. Emmett was driving, Edward was in the front passenger seat, Bella and Rosalie were sitting in the back. Emmett wasn't thrilled. Edward looked blank. Bella was sort of smiling like she'd been told not to. Rosalie was just staring at me. Great. And then I saw Sophia standing in the back of the car. She smiled. So are you gonna... Oh, is she American? She's not. So are you gonna stand there or sit in the car? She asked, and I realised I'd been standing there for over a minute. How awkward would that be? Like, I'm just gonna stand here for like 5 seconds and imagine doing that for a solid minute, okay? Like, you're Sophia, you're in the car, and you're staring back at me, Jackson, and I'm literally just standing like this for a minute. That was like 5 seconds, and that was awkward. It's healing pretty hard. Maybe you should also get in, Sophia, I said. The heel was pounding against her, and she didn't even seem the least bit bothered. I'll be fine. You won't. Get in, she said. The drive to school was awkward, and as I am editing this once again, I have realised that this is way too long to be in 2 parts. It took me almost 2 hours to read the whole thing, although I'm trying to not really cut anything out because it's just all such gold. I am taking a couple sentences out, but not too much, even though I'm sure it sucks and you would rather me edit it down more. But I'm just giving you like the full uncut raw version of it so you can just see the improvement later down the line. So this is probably actually going to end up being 3 to 5 parts given the length of it. I thought that 25 minutes was like the absolute maximum for a part, so there will be more coming, probably at least 2 if not 3 or 4 parts after this, and I hope you enjoyed and stick around because this is just like such a masterpiece that clearly you just need to like really absorb it into your life and soul. So I will read it through to the end, or what end there is considering it's unfinished, but hopefully you enjoyed it and see you later. Bye.